Hi people, Wayne back here again. Yeah, as you can tell from the header, I am going to cover another African spirit. This time it is Erzulie. Before I continue, I did some digging online, and you can find the most comprehensive article written from a first-person perspective. Someone that essentially acts like they are this African goddess themselves, this voodoo goddess. Ignore the noises in the background. Sorry, construction happening in the background. Yeah, it's written from a first person's perspective in the sense of I am Erzulie, etc. I'm going to read one paragraph of it. This is the most comprehensive and the most legitimate source on Erzulie I could find, or Erzulie Freda or Ogun. Okay, and yeah, feel free to read the article. I strongly recommend that you read the entire article if you're seriously interested in this African pagan spirit. And I'm only going to read one paragraph, like I said, and I'm going to keep it real short. There's not a lot to say, nor do I have anything to say extensive to say. Let's just put it like that. So yeah, all the credits, of course, go to the owner of the article, called Coven of the Goddess. It's from the name alone, I can deduct that it's a pagan article, or that it's a pagan blog, specifically run by women and whatever, you name it. It's pagan in nature, obviously. In any case, I am Erzulie. Originally, I was the goddess Oshun, the Yoruba river goddess. My origins are deeply rooted in the heart of my native West Africa. This land became known as the Kingdom of Dahomey, modern-day Benin. I am of the mighty Orisha. My counterparts are Oya, Oksum, and Yamaya, among others. Let me tell you my story, how I, Oshun, came across the mighty ocean and became Erzulie. For the rest, you can read all about it yourself, okay? Summarized, this goddess is essentially a fusion of two separate goddesses, so one turned into the other. But they're so similar that they're simply fused into one, so they can be viewed as one and the same, as opposed to some spirits that have, especially pagan spirits, that have dualistic personalities, like demonized pagan spirits, for example. Can't come up with an example. In any case, simply put, goddess Erzulie, which, as the article says, was originally the goddess Oshun from the Yoruba tribe in Africa, West Africa, modern-day Benin, and surrounding regions, as far as I can tell, more or less. She is, simply put, like the African version of Lilith. Okay, the most people that are watching this video, they do know the goddess Lilith, the demonic divine Lilith, the first woman before Eve, essentially, or the one that preceded Eve, within the biblical story of Adam and Eve. So yeah, she's like the African version of Lilith. That's the simplest way to put it. What else can I say? Again, just read the article. There's really nothing to say, really. Okay, she originated as Oshun, a Yoruban river goddess, and when the transatlantic slave trade became prevalent, a lot of slaves that worshipped her were carried back to Haiti and other regions, and they incorporated her in a matter of speaking. Into Haitian Voodoo, and that's how she essentially turned into a thingy. That's how she turned into Erzulie, into a Loa, essentially a Haitian voodoo spirit. I'm purely going to discuss her attributes now. Unsurprisingly, based on her description, overall, she is lunar. Her planetary affiliation is lunar, so the moon. I have no zodiacal alignment. I would essentially say by default Cancer, but she also has strong Scorpion influences. So there's also some Martian influence there. that is due to the fact that she is, how do I put this? That again, similar to people, she can be multifaceted. She can be kind, caring, loving, and nurturing, and at the same time, she can also be vengeful and similar to a scorned lover. She can be vengeful and the equivalent of a fucking bitch. Let's just put it that way. The only thing I disagree with in the article is that the article says that she appears as also as a white woman, essentially, because slaves were essentially forced to convert to Catholicism and they were disallowed or prohibited from continuing their pagan practices, and they essentially incorporated her into the Virgin Mary. So whenever slaves would call upon the Virgin Mary, they were actually referring to Erzulie. Let's just put it that way. Let me see. Let me see. Where is the description again? Yeah. As Erzulie Freda, despite my African origin, yeah, her name is also Erzulie Freda. Despite my African origin, I appear as a most beautiful white Mary draped in pearls and surrounded by hearts. My people would call upon the Virgin Mary to find me. Honestly, that's not the way she appears. I mean, she can appear that way to the people that essentially adhere to that context. People that found themselves within that position. But that is not her original form. Her primordial form is that of a typical, beautiful, African-looking woman with a bassinet on top of her head, and most commonly wearing a multicolored robe with the kind of robe that they wore, so traditional African apparel, with a top covering her boobs, obviously, the upper half of her body, but it's purple, simply indicating her lunar nature primarily, and the rest simply indicating that she's a jack of all trades. Also some red present, which indicates also a good deal of Martianness. But traditionally, like I said, she's lunar, okay? Simply think lunar, a hint of Scorpio, that's the vengeful part of her, and for the rest, that's essentially it. And a lesser hint of Venus even, okay? So just an overall feminine goddess, someone that embodies femininity and all aspects of it. But traditionally lunar, if you want to work with her, lunar, think purely moon, okay? So Monday and etc. Violet colors, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, what else can I say? Yeah, that's the way, that is her regarding appearance at her finest level. That's the way she truly appears. If she does appear in her most profound form, which I just described, in a Caucasian fashion, then it's not Caucasian. Okay, as an alternate appearance, she can also appear as a what's it called again? An albino woman. So the same appearance, the same traits, etc., but an albino woman to appeal to albinos. You know, albinos are obviously Negroes, but without pigment. And that's essentially it. But the rest, there's nothing else to say about her, really. So yeah, I'll hear it if there are any questions. And again, be sure to read the article. There are a couple of other articles of her. The second you Google her, you'll find articles specifically discussing the difference between the Yoruban river goddess and Erzulie themselves, etc., and how much, to whatever extent or whichever extent there is a difference, blah, 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 blah. But I picked this article out because she told me, and well, I primarily felt, as well as she told me, that that the majority or virtually all of it is correct, minus one or two miscellaneous things such as appearance. But for the rest, attributes and everything that's written in it is correct. So yes, the origin is indeed correct. Everything is indeed correct, the likes of which I described. So they are both one and the same. But the difference is that simply she has that origin, African origin, and then she was incorporated into Haitian Voodoo. She's anything but the only one, honestly. Oh yeah, it also mentions that she's married to Papa Lechba, but Lechba says that marriage is purely nominal, honestly. It's just within the context of Haitian voodoo, and shouldn't be taken all too seriously. And yeah, that's it. Again, I'll hear it if there are any questions. Bye bye.